Hello, everyone, and welcome to Challenger Chat, episode 4. It's been a while. I've been away for Christmas, got myself some new gear, and we're back and interviewing our first North American pro player. And our guest today is Nien, the Fusion AD carry. How are you doing today, Nien?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic because I get to interview one of my favorite North American pros. Been a fan of yours since the Orbit days, back when you were AD carrying. That's
Thanks.
where I actually wanted to start the interview, talk about, because obviously you're most known for that stint in the LCS, which
hmm
we'll gloss over because it's Challenger Chat. It's fine, we don't need to talk about it. But I'm interested in hearing what your reasons were. Obviously, your reasons for going top were understandable to get into the LCS. But now you've come out of the LCS and decided to switch back into AD carry. Was
hmm
that just a natural thing that was always going to happen, or did you really have to put some thought into that?
I'd say pretty much all my role swaps, whether it be to mid lane, to top lane, or back to AD carry, have all been just based on opportunity, where a good opportunity came around. So I've just played it off ear because I'm fine playing any of the roles competitively. Obviously much, I highly prefer the solo lanes or the AD carry role, but I'm completely fine playing every role competitively. So I just played according to where I thought I had the most potential, whether it be with the best team or what I wanted to play. Yeah, potential is
Potential, yeah,
very
that's a
common
great
word.
word to use there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, obviously it's been a little while since you came back. Now you've been on Fusion for quite some time, but I was wondering what you thought of yourself because obviously back in the day you were AD carry, and the role was significantly weaker, I think, back when you were AD carrying overall. No offense to you, I just mean in general. Obviously now in the
Mhm.
LCS we got some good AD carries coming over, and I was wondering how you rated yourself as an AD carry back then within the NA region, and how you rate yourself now within the NA region as an AD carry.
I think back then, during my prime as AD carry, I was top two. I think I was right below double in a lot of ways. I think he was better than me early mid to game or early mid game, but I was better than him mid to late game. So I think we were both really close in skill level at that point. But after that, role swapped to mid lane, role swapped again to top lane,
Yeah,
and from this current point, I'd say I'm probably around top five, top six in NA for AD carry. It's hard to say though, because I haven't really played in LCS for a while, and especially as an AD carry, so it's a
yeah, of
lot easier
course.
to tell when you're actually playing versus the people.
Okay, so you mentioned about that you were top two back in when you were AD carry for Orbit, and
hmm
I can't remember what their other names were off the top of my head. You may remember famously a little guy called Chaos once
hmm
once mentioned himself in a vlog as the season 2 MVP.
hmm
You say Double Lift was the best at the time. I'm curious as to get your thoughts onto that.
Yeah, I think Keox was on a bit of an ego trip when he was making that vlog. Uh, he proclaimed, or he had the sense that he was much better than he actually was, based on tourney results with TSM winning like pretty much every tourney. Of course, something like that can get to a player's head. But I think just from strictly, I think that one of my specialties as a player is being able to be really non-biased with my own skill, comparing it to other players. And it's just he wasn't that strong of a player. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, he was a
Yeah,
really, really good AD carry. It's just he was not as good as he made himself out to be. I think he was like top three, top four, but I think that at that current point, I was definitely better than he was in a lot of aspects, whether it be laning phase, team fighting, just general skirmishing. I think because I watched a lot of other AD carries and I watched especially NA AD carries a ton, so I had a pretty good grasp of their skill. But yeah, I think that Double Lift was. I was really close to him, but he was rank one, and then I was rank two. KX probably rank three, and then past that point, it was really hard to say. There is a bunch of
the,
80 carries around the same level.
yeah. I mean, I have to say the only time I was ever really disappointed was when TSM removed Chaos, and I think at that time you were top lane for CLG, right? At the time that they removed Chaos.
I
It's hard
think
to
it.
remember.
I'm not 100% sure. It all mixes together,
Because
all the events like that.
I remember thinking at the time, like, oh, it's such a shame that they can't get Nien to go AD carry for TSM. was like, that
Oh
was
yeah,
so
I think
dope.
that's actually. I think you're right actually because I remember a while back Reggie offered me a sub spot for TSM like before KX got kicked, but I didn't accept it because I thought they would never remove KX, and then eventually like a month or two later, Turtle was the sub, and then KX got kicked.
KX
So that
decides to
didn't
go
really.
partying in
Yeah.
MLG Dallas, I think it was, or something. But anyway,
Yeah, it was MLG Dallas. He was like hanging out with the fangirl or something the day of the tourney, and then Reggie didn't really like that too much.
damn. Well, okay. In an alternate timeline, we could have seen TSM Nien and AD Carry. But
Yeah.
moving on, we'll talk about the now, or at least the slight past. And obviously, your team now is Fusion, which
Hmm.
was quite a surprise that you guys would be coming together to make a team. Obviously, the initial lineup had Glebe and MacNoon, who we'll get onto later. But I want to
Hmm.
know a bit more about how Fusion formed. Like, who approached who came to you, who decided the lineup. Where did this all come from?
Well, like pretty much the main reason, primarily the only reason why I even joined the roster is because I've been friends with MacToon for a while. I met him like around season, or well, not around at season 2 Worlds. Went to Universal Studios, which is a universal or theme park in California. Hung out with him there, got to know him, and then ever since then we've talked like a few times about playing together. But like right before the team was formed, he's just like, "Hey, you should join my team. We should plan stuff." And I was currently on a team, and I was not really too open to the idea because I didn't want to leave my team. But I kept on talking to them, and eventually, just seemed like the offer was too good to pass up. So I just joined the team.
Okay, well, you guys came together, and everyone was like, "Damn, this is going to be the best North American challenge team that ever happened. This is like LMQ V2. They're going to stomp everyone." Didn't exactly go to plan.
Hmm.
Went to the expansion tournament, lost, unfortunately. I believe it was a reverse sweep. I'm sorry to bring it up again. I don't want to cause
Oh
any
yeah, it's fine.
flashbacks or anything like that. But so obviously, getting reverse swept in the expansion tournament final, essentially, has got to have
Hmm.
been pretty crushing for everyone, I have to say. Um,
Yeah, without a doubt.
so, was there the immediate decision? I mean, what was going around the departure of MacNoon and Glebe? Obviously, as we said earlier, they have left the team now.
Uh, well, around that point, it's just we had a lot of team discussions, and then pretty much it was almost primarily like a mutual perspective from both ends that it was just better off for the both of us if we were to move on our separate ways. It just, I think it will end up working well for everyone because for McNoon especially, it just seemed like he didn't have the passion for the game that he had before, and it really showed in his play as well. He just wasn't really as motivated as he was before to get good, and yeah.
Okay. And well, from that, that was, I believe, earlier this month actually that they were officially released. And then a few days later, you get Chunky Fresh, who had been playing for you anyway in the support role because of
Mhm.
Glebe's issues. I mean, I don't really want to go into that too much. But so Chunky Fresh now goes top,
Mhm.
and Trance is joining you in the support role. Am I right?
Mhm.
Okay, that's an interesting transition for Chunky Fresh, right? Because wasn't he a mid laner in the first place, right? He's a mid lane sub.
Yeah, he's been all over the place in the Fusion household, but I think it's just he's a really good addition to our team because not only is he already friends and gets along with everyone on the team, which is really really crucial, I think, to being a teammate. Because a lot of I think it's one of the undervalued aspects of being a good teammate. Because a lot of teams, they it's a lot harder for them to mesh well together. Like especially in Europe, I think, because the personality is a lot more they clash a lot more. Not really
Yeah.
trying to offend you or anything, but
No, no, no,
just like the
no.
general vibe that
Please.
I get.
I've been a
Yeah,
manager in Europe. I know exactly what people can be like in Europe. But
yeah,
sorry, continue on.
yeah. I think it's really undervalued aspect. So he just gets along with really well with everyone, and I personally think that he has a really really high skill cap. He's a grind lord. He's tries really really hard to improve. So I think he'll do really really solid in the future. So and
Poor.
then for trans or what's that?
No, no, sorry. I was going to say poor B Sin. The top lane sub, who can't even.
Yeah,
Who gets replaced by a mid lane sub. It's unlucky, but you know,
yeah. It's unlucky,
happens.
man. Chunky is here. Chunky's a beast. And then for trans, Originally, we're looking at maybe getting other supports, maybe from Korea or from Europe, but those options didn't end up working out, and we kind of thought we were a little bit screwed in terms of the support because there's not really too much like talent in solo queue, whether it be for NA or EU, at least that I am aware of, or the vast majority of players are aware of. So it's really, really hard to find players of high caliber for that role. But it's really lucky that we were able to find Trance. He's like really, really surprisingly good. It's really weird too because he's the opposite of what you would expect from a solo queue support, where their laning phase would be like super, super
Yeah.
dominant and everything else was really weak. Where his weakness is more of his laning phase and everything else is really good. He has a really good game sense of when he needs to ward, how to play team fights, how to roam around the map and stuff. So it's really, really nice, and it's much higher base to work with than I thought I would be playing with, and I think we'll be do really good in the future. So,
So it's safe to say you sound pretty confident,
mhm,
but I mean, I would be lying if I said I followed the North American Challenger scene religiously. But
mhm,
I mean, I do keep up to date with it, and there is a lot of interesting new teams forming up.
yeah, mhm,
Obviously, the games aren't actually broadcast, so there's no way for me to watch them. But I'm sure you've been scrimming against some of them, maybe, I'm not sure, or you've heard the results. What other teams, or how would you rank yourselves at the moment compared to some of the other stronger teams coming up in the North American Challenger scene for this coming Challenger Series?
Uh, honestly, I haven't really scrimmed too much recently because Jay, our mid laner, has gone back to Korea for some visa stuff. So we just took
Oh,
the few weeks off just to spam solo queue. So we haven't really been scrimming too much. But I think that we are going to be top two. That's without a doubt top two, probably the best team in the challenger scene. Of course, it's hard to say, but I think with us, it's going to be TDK. I think those guys are actually pretty good. And then I think Storm, I think it is. The one with Man Cloud and Baby Eater XP Cake. I think those guys are
oh
pretty good
yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
too.
Didn't they get picked up?
Um, did they what?
Didn't they get picked up by someone? No, am I wrong?
I'm not.
I might be
I'm
wrong.
not quite sure. I like you said. I don't really even pay attention to the
Oh
challenger
no,
scene
they
that
didn't.
much
My bad.
either.
Bad. They did not get picked up. They're still Storm.
Yeah, I think they're still Storm.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
And I think those guys are pretty good, better than people would give them credit for. And besides them, it's really hard to say. Like some rosters seems like they could mesh well together, but it's a lot more than just finding five semi-talented or talented players. It's more about how the team meshes well in terms of strategy and teamwork and cohesion. That's way more valuable assets, and it's really hard to assess how that will work out.
Well, I wanted to see what you thought about these academy teams, the challenger teams from the LCS lines that come up. I mean,
Hmm.
Team Liquid have one, which is Zig, Bebe, Cack God, who has changed his name to Enui. I think Riot have made him. I was so confused when I saw that.
Yeah.
The LCS superstar, Keith McBrief, who had a fantastic showing this weekend, and the support is Jojo, who I actually have no idea who it is, and neither do I know the jungle. What do you think about that lineup? I'm sure you know at least some of the players in there.
Seems not too bad. I think the biggest promising players on the team is Zig and Keith, of course. I think Zig is actually kind of a slept-on player. I think he's been pretty good for a while.
I
I think
mean,
he was one of the best,
Zig
better
goes
AD
back in
carries.
the day, right? He was on
Hmm.
Team
He
Dynamic,
was,
I believe.
yeah, he was on the TD roster for a while. I think he was a pretty solid AD carry around that time, and he kind of just stopped playing as much. But I've always thought he was pretty decent. So I think those two players are the standout players. But overall, I'm not really too scared of that roster. I think it'll do all right, but nothing spectacular.
Okay, and the others are Cloud9, G2A, Solo, Hard, Yasui, who I think is a talent that everyone's been raving on about, and he was, suspected to join various LCS lineups, which never actually happened. LOD
Yeah.
and are they still using Stix A? I don't know.
I think Stixay might have gone to CLG instead. I think he's on the CLG Challenger team now.
Wow, I just don't keep up enough with the Challenger scene. I mean, I know most of the CLG lineup. I think Westrice is playing on there.
Yeah, I believe
Uh,
so. Westrice and I think ThinkCard.
Kenny's
And
back at AD carry.
yeah.
For some reason, I've always thought he was a pretty good top laner, but
I
Interesting.
think it might be Kenny and 6A landing together or something like that on CLG. I'm not quite sure.
Do you, well, as much as you know about their lineups, I can't tell you. Do you think either of them are going to be good challenges? I mean, there's for the top three spots, obviously for the LCS qualifying
uh,
promotion.
yeah, honestly, it's. I think of the teams, C9 will probably do the best. I think it will end up being like us, TDK, and then like maybe Storm or C9 or something. But of course, it's really hard to judge how teams will progress as the season goes on. But I think C9, their strength is not only in the mid lane, but I think their jungler is really really good too. So it's really crucial that a mid laner has a good jungler to follow and back him up. And I think that in LoL Pro, you so you didn't have that as much because Thinkard, I think he's really, really good. Like really, really, really good when he's on Lee Sin. But when he's on other champions, it's just his presence isn't nearly as much as his Lee Sin. So it's gonna. I think Yusui will have a much better showing with the. I think he's going with hard. That's his
Yeah,
gamer tag now. Yeah,
I've no.
that guy. I think he's pretty good.
I kind of know who he is. I mean, I've heard about him. Heard he's
Mhm.
got like top 20 or something like that in solo queue, whatever. Now there were two teams there which I thought you would bring up, but didn't when you were listing your top three, top four. One of them, Enemy Esports. Wondering if you
Mhm.
thought anything about them. Did you remember them, or did you just not put them in your top four?
Uh, I actually kind of forgot about them a little bit, but even still, I don't think I would put them in the top four. Maybe like top five, or they could
Wow.
potentially be top four. Like it's really hard to say how teams will progress.
Yeah.
Like they could easily be top three, top two, maybe even the best team. But as of right now, I'd put them like top five. I don't think they're gonna be too amazing, but it's. I don't know too much about Trashy, their new jungler, and I think
Oh yeah.
jungler can be really, really vital role. But
European
he could be
junglers.
really good. Yeah, European junglers are generally pretty decent. So
Is it my time to
we'll
shine? I
see how
can
it
talk
goes.
about Trashy. No.
Yeah, sure.
And
How is Trashy?
Trashy's cool. I mean, I've only ever seen him. I've managed him for like two games when he played for us in LCS expansion, which we failed. So moving
Okay.
on from that, the final lineup, the one that has all the controversy and all the things going around it, and the lineup that I actually know the least about, apart from one player, obviously, and that is Team Raw. Your pal
Oh yeah.
Chaos' lineup. You even
Uh-huh.
forgot about him then as well. Oh my goodness. The BM to Chaos right now.
No, I'm actually cool with I think KX is a cool dude. I just think at that point in time he was super ahead of himself, or his head was super far up his ass in terms of his own play. But I think he's a cool dude overall. But
I mean,
I think.
this lineup that they're building is quite an
Uh-huh.
experiment. I mean, they have Mizor in as support. I can't remember what her old name used to be.
You know.
You know in support, you know in chaos. They obviously went over to China, did this
Mhm.
boot camp, came back, and no one's seen them play for a while. And yeah, I'm just wondering if you know anything about their lineup, if you think anything about it in particular, because I honestly I don't think many people have a clue of what they're doing at the moment or how they're doing it.
Um,
Sorry.
yeah, it's really, really, really hard to say because going to boot camp in somewhere like China or like Korea or something can be really, really fruitful, but it can also be really, really bad for a team environment because if you're just getting like completely dumpstered over and over and over and over, which they probably did if they were scrimming good teams,
That
it's
reminds me of
not
a
going to
team
be
that
good.
does. Who went to boot camp abroad and got dumpstered over and over again, came back and then
Yeah,
lost?
probably wasn't the best decision, but yeah, it's gonna be hard to say. Like maybe like there's two situations where either the team either just comes back way way stronger, each player just learned so much, or the team environment is just like super hostile. Everyone just like super defensive and like just thinks they're way worse as players. So it's like it's hard to say how they'll do. We haven't really played versus them. I haven't really played versus KX in a long time either.
Oh, I was going
So
to ask you if you thought Chaos still had it as a player, but I guess you.
yeah, I think he'll still do good. But I think me and Lewis XGG are both going to be way better than him. I think Lewis XGG is the or Louis XGG. I don't know. Is the AD carry for TDK. I think he's actually pretty damn good.
Okay.
So
Well, yeah. There's always. You mean you say he could still be pretty good, but I mean there's always players that They retire for a little while or they go to the challenger scene, then they come back and they never quite reach the level that they were. Once again, it just seems like recycling, a waste of talent. But anyway,
Yeah.
moving on. We're coming towards the end of the interview, you'll be happy to know. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, okay? And this is one that I ask everyone.
Alright.
You can build your own NA Challenger team. You can't import. It's against the rules. And you can't use players from your current lineup of Fusion. Or the
Okay.
subs. Sorry, B-Sin. You can't be used as well. So what is your fantasy NA Challenger team? You can use
Fantasy NA
yourself. You can
Challenger
use
team?
yourself if you feel like it.
I can only use myself.
No,
I can't use any of my teammates.
You can use yourself, none of your teammates.
Okay.
This one
Okay.
gets people thinking all the time. They don't expect it.
Let me think about this. Um. Well, man, every role is so hard to choose. For mid lane, I guess I'll just choose Yasui, and for jungle, I'll just choose hard. Um, for top lane and support's so hard though. Damn. I need to
He has
see all
no
the
idea.
support player names.
Uh,
It's so hard to think about which one I would choose.
Conquan from TDK.
Oh, that guy actually is not too bad. Yeah, sure. I'll just go with Conquan. Conquan. Oh no. Actually, I take that back. How did I forget about Terry? I used to play on a team with Terry or Baby Eater.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Baby Eater actually. I think his laning phase is not the best, but I think he's a player like Trance where his laning phase is his weakness, but he's really good at a lot of other things. So I think I would go with Baby Eater if I would not be able to choose Trance. And then for top lane, I would probably just take Rux. Yeah, probably just take Rux.
In mid lane, you neglected to mention. I don't even know the status of this guy at the moment, but you neglected to mention Alex Itch, who is famously coming over to NA Challenger. I forgot to mention it before. Do you think what do you think of Alex Itch coming over to play in the NA Challenger?
I think it's an interesting prospect, but I think I'm not really falling into the hype train until I see him perform really well, because I think he's been steadily falling off in terms of how freaking amazing he used to be, but now he's not nearly as good, it seems. And I think a lot of that is due to motivation.
I think I just realised that this discussion is almost irrelevant because I just remembered that Brawl actually got knocked out in round 1 of their qualifiers, which is the team he's joining. So that's a shorter ace, Alex Itch, Latman, low pally. And I don't know who their top laner is, but yeah, they got knocked out anyway, so I have no idea what he's going to do.
Yeah,
interesting.
Who knows?
Well, that's the end. I think we're all about done. We've talked about the NA Challenger scene a bit, yourself, other teams around you, and your Challenger team, your NA Dream Fantasy team. Would totally win everything for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. Is there anything you'd like to say before we end the interview?
No, just shout outs to the team, and shout outs to Team Fusion, and shout outs to Josh Raven or House Biffing for the interview.
Oh, thank
shout
you very
out to
much.
Phil Neubauer. I don't know how to pronounce.
I mean, you tried. He's German.
Yeah,
Anyway. Who
it's the
cares?
effort that counts. All right. Thank you very much for the interview, man, and have a good day.
You too. Just before we go, I'd like to say thank you to Esports Heaven for letting me host this show, and stay tuned. There's going to be more Challenger Chat interviews coming out soon with both NA and EU pro players. Thank you very much, and have a good night.